Most people walking into next year believe they're going to be better off than they are right now. They tell themselves that things will improve, that their situation will change, that somehow the financial pressures they're feeling today will magically ease up tomorrow. But here's the uncomfortable reality nobody wants to talk about. For the majority of people, next year is going to leave them in a worse financial position than they're in right now. And the reasons why have almost nothing to do with the economy, interest rates, or whatever's happening in Washington. The truth is far more personal than that. Let me explain what I mean. When we talk about being worse off financially, we're not just talking about having less money in the bank. We're talking about the gap between where you are and where you need to be growing wider. We're talking about your purchasing power declining while your obligations increase. We're talking about the slow erosion of financial stability that happens so gradually most people don't even notice until it's too late. And this isn't some doom and gloom prediction. This is what happens when you combine predictable human behavior with the structural realities of how money works in the modern world. Think about what happens in most people's lives as one year rolls into the next. They make resolutions. They promise themselves they'll save more, spend less, finally get serious about their future. And for a few weeks, maybe even a couple months, they actually follow through. But then something happens. Life gets in the way. An unexpected expense pops up. A tempting opportunity to spend presents itself. The motivation fades. And before they know it, they're back to the same patterns that kept them stuck in the first place. Except now they're a year older, with one less year to build wealth and recover from past mistakes. Here's where it gets really interesting. Most people dramatically underestimate how much their fixed costs increase year over year. Rent doesn't stay the same. Insurance premiums creep up. Subscription services you forgot you signed up for keep charging you month after month. Property taxes rise. Utility costs climb. Healthcare gets more expensive. And if you're financing anything, whether it's a car, furniture, or credit card debt, those interest charges are compounding against you every single day. All of these increases happen quietly, incrementally, in ways that don't trigger alarm bells. But add them up over 12 months and you're looking at hundreds or even thousands of dollars in additional outflow that you probably didn't budget for. Now layer on top of that the way most people handle income. When someone gets a raise or a bonus, what typically happens? They don't redirect that extra money toward debt elimination or wealth building. They upgrade their lifestyle. They move to a nicer apartment. They finance a newer car. They start eating out more frequently. They convince themselves they've earned it, that they deserve to enjoy the fruits of their labor. And technically, they're not wrong. But what they don't realize is they've just locked in a higher baseline of spending that will be incredibly difficult to reverse later. This is how people can make more money year after year and still feel like they're falling behind. Because they are. Let's talk about debt for a minute, because this is where things get especially brutal. Most people are carrying some combination of credit card balances, auto loans, student loans, or personal loans. And here's what happens with debt over time if you're not aggressively paying it down. The balance doesn't just sit there, it grows. Even if you're making minimum payments, even if you're not adding new charges, the interest is working against you constantly. A $10,000 credit card balance at 18% interest costs you $1,500 a year just in interest charges. That's $1,500 that bought you absolutely nothing. It didn't improve your life. It didn't build your wealth. It just vanished into the void of servicing past consumption. And next year, if that balance is still there or has grown, you'll pay that again. And the year after that. This is how people end up trapped. But it's not just about the money leaving your account, it's about the opportunities you're missing because that money is already spoken for. Every dollar you're spending on interest payments is a dollar you can't invest. It's a dollar you can't use to build skills or start a side business. It's a dollar you can't allocate toward creating passive income streams. The real cost of debt isn't just what you pay, it's what you could have built if you weren't paying it. And that opportunity cost compounds just as aggressively as the interest itself, except in the opposite direction. Now let's address something that makes people really uncomfortable. Most individuals have terrible spending habits that they refuse to acknowledge. They'll blame external factors. They'll point to inflation or their employer or the cost of living. And sure, those things matter. But the hard truth is that most people leak money through dozens of small, inefficient decisions that add up to massive long-term consequences. The daily coffee shop visits. The impulse purchases while scrolling social media. The convenience of food delivery when cooking would cost a fraction of the price, the streaming services they barely use, the gym membership they haven't visited in months. None of these things alone will ruin you. But collectively, consistently, over an entire year, they represent thousands of dollars that flowed out of your life with almost nothing meaningful to show for it. And here's the psychological trap that keeps people stuck. These small expenditures don't feel significant in the moment. Your brain doesn't process a $12 lunch as a threat to your financial future. It feels like nothing. But that's exactly why it's so dangerous. If you spent $12 every workday on lunch instead of bringing food from home, that's over $3,000 a year. $3,000 that could have knocked out a credit card balance. $3,000 that could have started an investment account. $3,000 that could have created a meaningful emergency fund. Instead, it bought you sandwiches you probably don't even remember eating. What makes next year particularly treacherous is that most people are entering it with depleted resources and elevated obligations. If you're like most individuals, you probably overspent during the holidays. You probably put things on credit cards telling yourself you'd pay them off quickly. You probably dipped into savings or skipped contributions to your retirement accounts. So you're starting the year in a hole, which means you're already behind before anything else even happens. And statistically, something else will happen. Medical expenses, car repairs, home maintenance, family emergencies. These aren't freak occurrences. They're predictable realities of life. But because most people don't have proper emergency funds, when these things happen, they create financial setbacks that take months or years to recover from. Let me give you a specific example of how this plays out. Imagine someone making $50,000 a year. After taxes and basic deductions, they're taking home maybe $38,000. Divide that by 12 and you're looking at around $3,200 per month. Now factor in rent or mortgage, let's say $1,200. Car payment and insurance, maybe $500. Student loan payment, $300. Credit card minimums, $200. Phone, internet, utilities, another $300. Groceries and basic household items, $400. Gas, $150. That's $3,050 before they've done anything else. No entertainment, no eating out, no clothing, no unexpected expenses, no saving. They've got $150 left, $150 of monthly breathing room, and this is assuming everything goes perfectly, which it never does. One moderately sized unexpected expense and they're back on the credit card, which makes next month even tighter, which makes the following month worse. This is the cycle that guarantees most people end up worse off. But there's another factor that doesn't get talked about enough. Most people are financially illiterate and they're not doing anything to change that. They don't understand how compound interest works, either for them or against them. They don't know the difference between good debt and bad debt. They can't explain what a tax-advantaged account is or why it matters. They've never calculated their actual net worth. They don't track their spending. They don't have a written budget. They're navigating one of the most important aspects of their lives completely blind, making it up as they go along, hoping things somehow work out. And then they're surprised when they don't. The wealth-building principles that actually create financial security aren't complicated. Spend less than you earn. Eliminate high-interest debt as quickly as possible. Build an emergency fund so unexpected expenses don't derail you. Invest consistently in appreciating assets. Increase your income through skills and value creation. Avoid lifestyle inflation. Think in decades, not days. These aren't secrets. They're not advanced strategies. They're basic fundamentals that anyone can apply, but most people don't because it requires delayed gratification, and most people are terrible at that. They want the new phone now. They want the vacation now. They want the upgraded apartment now. They're unwilling to sacrifice present comfort for future security. And that unwillingness is what guarantees they'll be worse off next year. Here's what's really happening beneath the surface. Every financial decision you make is either moving you towards stability and wealth or away from it. There's no neutral. When you choose to finance a depreciating asset instead of saving that payment, you're moving backward. When you pay only minimums on debt instead of attacking it aggressively, you're moving backward. When you consume your entire paycheck and build no equity or investments, you're moving backward. And the cruel mathematics of personal finance mean that moving backward is easy and happens automatically, while moving forward requires intentional, sustained effort. Gravity pulls you down. Climbing requires work. What makes this particularly insidious is that the consequences aren't immediate. You don't make a poor financial decision today and wake up broke tomorrow. The damage accumulates slowly over months and years until one day you look around and realize you're 40 or 50 years old with almost nothing saved, drowning in payments, completely dependent on your next paycheck just to survive. And by that point, the hole is so deep that climbing out feels impossible. That's not a scare tactic. That's the statistical reality for the majority of people who don't take control of their finances early and consistently. So why will most people be worse off financially next year? Because they're going to repeat the same patterns that got them to where they are right now. They're going to spend more than they should. They're going to ignore their debt. They're going to skip investing. They're going to make excuses. They're going to prioritize short-term pleasure over long-term security. And they're going to do all of this while somehow expecting different results. That's not how any of this works. But here's the empowering part of this message. You don't have to be part of that majority. The information you need is available. The tools you need are accessible. The strategies that work have been proven over and over again by people who came from nothing and built substantial wealth. It's not about luck. It's not about connections. It's not about having a high income from day one. It's about making intelligent decisions consistently over time. It's about living below your means, eliminating debt, building assets, and being patient enough to let compound growth work in your favor. These are choices you control completely, regardless of what's happening in the broader economy. Next year can be different, but only if you decide to make it different. That means getting brutally honest about where you actually are financially. It means creating a real plan, not just vague intentions. It means tracking every dollar and making conscious decisions about where your money goes. It means prioritizing your future self over your current desires. It means educating yourself about money and investing in your financial literacy, the same way you'd invest in any other important skill. And it means accepting that this is a long game that requires patience, discipline, and consistency. The people who end up financially secure aren't lucky. They're intentional. They make sacrifices when it's uncomfortable. They delay gratification when everyone around them is spending. They invest when others are consuming. They learn when others are distracted. They persist when others quit. And over time, those decisions compound into real wealth and genuine security. That path is available to anyone willing to walk it. The question is whether you're going to be one of the people who actually does. If this perspective challenged your thinking or gave you something valuable to consider, make sure you hit that like button and drop a comment below sharing what financial goal you're committing to for next year. And if you want more straight talk about money and building real wealth, subscribe to the channel because we're just getting started. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.